Sup guys, Bjorn here. 9.1 is launching tomorrow actually, so I figured today would quite literally be the perfect day to get my 9.1 survival guide out there for you guys. I have it all mapped out here. We're gonna go through all the currencies, all the gear you need, all the stuff you want to do, when to do it, when renown unlocks, flying, your legendaries, all that stuff. So stay tuned for all that, and subscribe if you want more 9.1 content, like the video if you liked it, and we'll just get straight into it. We're gonna start off with the currencies, I felt like, just to get that out of the way, because it's pretty annoying stuff, you know. It's just some names that I just want to clarify real quick. So there are gonna be some new currencies in 9.1. One of them, and one of the more important ones actually, is gonna be the Korthite crystals. And they drop from stuff in Korthia, as you can tell by the name maybe. They're actually crafting reagents that you can sell on the auction house, and they're going to be required for the new like tiers of Legos later on in a patch, right? So crafters are going to need these, and you can pick them up from like daily quests, events like rares, chests, you know, stuff like that. Pretty rare, I think, but yeah. As you can tell, if you can sell them, you can make a lot of money there. So maybe you can farm some of those if you want. Then we have Soul Cinders. That's gonna basically gonna be the new Soul Ash, right? It's just a new name for the same currency for some reason by Blizzard. You're gonna need those to craft to upgrade your Legos to the new highest tiers, like the 249 and 262 eye levels. And then Soul Ash is still around for the lower ones if you want to craft for alts and stuff like that. And then there's Shards of Domination, which comes from Raid. That's not a currency, it's a socket, or there are gemstones that you put into sockets on the Raid gear. So those are going to be pretty important for DPS actually. Even if you don't raid, you're probably going to want some of the maybe normal or heroic ones. If you just like do Mythic Plus, you can maybe hop into some normal or heroic raid and pick those up. Because they're going to be like somewhat important maybe. I mean, obviously if you don't want to get them, you don't have to. And then there's Stygian Embers, and this is where it starts to get a little bit confusing here, guys. But Stygian Embers is another new currency that you're gonna use to upgrade these shards from the raid. So even though it sounds like Stygia, it has nothing to do with it. Then there's Stygia, that's also still around, right? And you're gonna use it in Venari still. And Korthia has some mounts, I think, that you can buy with Stygia and stuff like that. So there's some like vanity items there if you're into that shit. Yeah, so with that, all that out of the way, I figured we'll just drop into tomorrow, right, when the patch launches, and what you can actually do, because similar to when an expansion launches, right, the content is going to be staggered in weeks here from the patch launch, so you're not actually going to be able to do a whole lot week one. We're just gonna like get through what you can actually do on week one, what's your top priorities there, and what you can do to get gear and stuff like that. So yeah, well, June 30th in EU, like it's gonna be one day ahead in US, of course. Patch launches. Korthia is open straight away, right? There's a ton of mounts there. There's actually 45 new mounts in the whole patch. Obviously not all of them are gonna come from Korthia, but there's a whole lot of like secret mounts in Korthia and new mounts in the Maw as well. They're really cool. You should definitely check them out. There's reputations to grind. There's two new different reputations in Korthia. And they have currencies of their own, and then there's catch-up gear as well from those. I'm not sure how much of that you're going to be able to earn week one, probably maybe some of it for your alts. I don't think that's going to be super high item level, but maybe you could get up to 226 once you upgrade it, so it's not that horrible. And then there's also going to be conduit upgrades that drop like items you can use to upgrade your conduits to 226. This is max 226, by the way. This is only catch-up conduit stuff. So this is going to be really useful if you're lazy like me and you haven't even gotten your conduits up to 226 yet. You can just do some world content and you can get your conduits up to 226 ASAP. So that's going to be really, really important, or not really important, but it's going to be really useful. It's a nice change by Blizzard. I like that. So then the 9.1 campaign starts, similar to the Covenant campaign in 9.0, right? This is more of a unified campaign. And it does start with the intro to Korthia, and I'm in this week here. I'm not sure if the like actual chapter 1 of the campaign is gonna start week 1 or if that's week 2. But either way, that's where your renown is gonna come from as well, right? And then we have 3 new renown week 1. They're gonna come from campaign, right? That's gonna be every week campaign quest. Then you have the old anima quest, 1k anima. still around. It's gonna be really easy this season, guys. Don't worry about it. Don't bitch about this anima quest. It's so free. If you like do just a couple of mythic pluses, you're gonna get anima from that. Then you have like a ton of anima quests each week and stuff like that. So it's not gonna be a problem at all. The 1k anima quest is fine. And then you have the last bit of renown actually is gonna come from a Korthia weekly. So the like rescue 20 souls quest no longer rewards renown, which is really nice. I felt like that was the worst renown quest for sure, right? So that's really nice. Then you have this is where it starts to get a little weird here, because I'm not really sure how many Torghast layers are gonna open week 1. Either I feel like they're just gonna open all of them, so 9 through 12 could be open week 1 if you can like obviously unlock them. You have to unlock them as well. I don't think that's gonna happen though. And if we can look at here at what happened for Nathria actually, for 9.0, well, layers 1 to 3 through 3 unlocked at launch, and then we have 4 through 6 on Castle Nathria Heroic, and then we have the last 2 on Mythic. So, but then there were 8 layers, right? Now there's just 4. So I'm not sure really how they're gonna pace these out. My personal guess would be that they either do just 9 and then like 2 Heroic week and then the last one in Mythic week, or they're gonna do like 9, 10 here and then 10, 11, or sorry, 11, 12 in Heroic week and nothing on Mythic week, which would be my preferred way. That would be really nice. But yeah, I'm not really sure how it's gonna play out, but at least layer 9 is gonna be open, right? And if only layer 9 is open, then you can earn 60 soul cinders from Torghast week 1. And then you have bi-weekly assaults in the like bi-weekly means that they're gonna be happening twice a week, right? There's 2 of them each week, just like the Nussoth assaults in 8.3 if you remember them. So those are gonna reward 50 cinders each as well. That's 100 cinders each week. And then there's also a new event in Korthia or the Maw, Tormentors of Torghast, which is gonna reward you 50 cinders. So that's 150 cinders plus 60 from the Torghast. That's 210 week 1, assuming nothing more than layer 9 unlocks, right? And then there's also going to be this new cool change on patch launch, which is that this guy pair, Pusha T, Mr. Tassop, my big boy, he's probably the best change of Shadowlands so far. He's going to offer you keystones in Oribos for free. If you don't have a keystone, you can just go there and pick one up if you have completed a dungeon for the season, I think, or maybe for the entire Shadowlands. And then you can also just downgrade your key at him for free how many ever times you want, right? Instead of having to go into a key, fail it to deplete the key to get it down if you can't do a key. Now you can just talk to him, which is much easier, right? And then the biggest change, which is actually so huge, is that now once you complete the Mythic Plus, if you have a key that's at the same level or lower, you're gonna be able to swap that key out from this Pusha T boy. Mr. Pusha Key, he's pushing a lot of keys, this guy, hopefully, like us in 9.1, right? So you can just swap your key if you have like a 14 sanguine deaths and you really don't want to go in there. Maybe you just swap it and you get a mists. And you know what? If you don't like that mists, you can just do another of your friend's keys and then you can swap your key again at the next dungeon, right? So it's actually going to be so powerful. I think it's going to be huge for the Mythic Plus community. It's just a change WoW needed basically at this point, because the Mythic Plus system was just so fucking horrible for anyone who wanted to like enjoy it fully, right? They was just so hamstringing to not be able to choose which dungeon, when to do it and whatever like that. So, and there's already these like weekly restrictions and stuff, so it's just horrible. I'm really happy that they at least made something, even though they could do more here. So that's everything you can do week 1. In terms of gearing, there's not a whole lot here, right? The things you could do in terms of gear would maybe be some catch-up gear from Korthia, possibly. And then there's also, you can still like do Mythic Plus from this season, I think. So you could get like 2, you could upgrade with Valorita to 20 from there. You could still do Nathria during this week as well. This week actually still has Nathria open, so if you want to re-clear like Nathria Mythic for some more cat gear, or Nathria Heroic even, you can do that still. To get your alts up or your main up to speed if you need that. But there's not going to be a whole lot of like new gear from the patch here. So the real gearing, obviously as always, starts during Heroic Week. It's been like this forever in WoW, by the way. This is nothing like to bitch about. This is good. It would be horrible if everything released on week 1 of the patch. Even though like some of the time gating is bad, right? Some of it could be maybe lessened a bit. But I feel like this 3-week schedule here is so good. Like if this wasn't the case, then we would be completely fucked. They have to have this 3-week schedule, because otherwise you would just have way too much to do on week 1, or like Mythic would open too soon. Mythic and Heroic can't open on the same week for obvious reasons, right? So I don't know. This schedule is fine. Anyway, July 7th, right? This is when the real stuff begins. Sanctum of Dominations opens and Shadowlands Season 2 begins, which is huge. There's gonna be a ton of stuff to do here, because there's not only that, but there's also a new dungeon, right? So Sanctum, Normal, and Heroic, they drop these item levels here. This is the last bosses, right? The last 2 bosses drop extra item level, just as in Nathria. So you could get like 246 this week if you kill Kel'Thuzad and Sylvanas, obviously, which is probably not going to be easy, but it's definitely, like, obviously doable. This is fucking Heroic. Like, there's going to be a ton of guilds clearing those bosses week 1. And it's also going to be quite a lot easier in Nathria, I think, because the item level gap isn't as huge, and we do have the Legos and all that stuff going in. So I feel like Sanctum will be probably a little bit easier than Nathria and Heroic, purely because we have better gear, right? So this is also the time where you might start looking at the Lego recrafter stuff, right? If you need to recraft your Lego for that Shards of Domination socket piece. The Shards of Domination socket pieces are helm, shoulder, chest, and then 2 different pieces depending on your armor type. I did cover that in another video if you want to check that out. I can maybe put a card up over there somewhere. But anyway, this is where you want to start. Like, if you haven't recrafted already, you do want to recraft here, so you don't end up getting like a 233 Shards of Domination piece, and you suddenly have a Lego in that slot and you can't even use it, or maybe even you get like a 246 fucking socket piece and you're stuck with the Lego and you can't swap it out instantly, right? Because you really don't want to like teleport out mid-raid to recraft the Lego. That doesn't sound good at all. So be prepared, boys. Don't be afraid to recraft your Legos if you need to. Then we have Mythic Plus, which is also going to be huge, right? So there's going to be a way to prep this key, right? Because once this week comes around and the new season starts, then they drop all the Mythic Plus key levels by 5. So like a 15, what we could do 15 before, that same level will now be a 10. So it's going to be like 5 levels harder to do a key, right? So if you had like done a 15 the week before and you're expecting to get a new key from the vault next week, well, that key is also going to be dropped by 5. So that means that if you want to actually push a 15 this week, which has some clear advantages for sure, right? If you can push a 15 this week, you probably should. That means that you're going to have to do a 20 key the week before. And, well, that week is a tyrannical week. So you really don't want to be pushing that week, probably. So that means that you're going to have already pushed a 21 key this week. Then you would go into this reset here, patch launch reset, and you get a 20 tyrannical key that you could maybe sprint down next week, right? And you could just like complete it. You don't have to time it or anything, and then you would still get a 15 key this week, which is good. But then again, you're not going to be able to like the item level is still going to be capped, right? And you're not going to be able to upgrade the gear with Valor either, because Valor, you won't have enough Valor to upgrade anything useful probably, and also you won't have like the Mythic Plus score requirement to actually upgrade, because instead of these like Keystone Master achievements, they're gonna replace that system with a score system, right? So there's gonna be new achievements, and you can't do that week 1 because you need both fortified and tyrannical keys for that, which is also a good system in and of itself. It just means that you can't. You're not going to be able to get Keystone Master week 1, which is also fine. Like, I have no problem with that at all. The loot, as I mentioned briefly, is going to be capped. And here I'm not quite sure, because there's two different scenarios here, right? Either it's going to be as in BFA. This is like BFA 8.3. Then the stuff was capped at the +6 level. And that would currently be 223 item level. If we were going into patch this week right now, patch 9.1, and we're doing a +6, we will get 223 from the actual mobs, right? Or from the end of chest dungeon. I'm so tired. And then we have the +10, which could be the case as well. This was the case in 9.1, and this is where I'm confused, right? Because I'm not sure if the +10 cap was because it was an expansion launch, or if this is a new philosophy going into like Shadowlands, right? It could be that they want to cap the loot always at +10. So I would probably bet for this. I think Mythic Plus loot is going to be capped at 229 on Heroic Week, which means it's going to be useful, right? Then you can actually upgrade some pretty important pieces there, which is going to be nice. So Mythic Plus, a big deal probably here, as long as it's kept at 229. And then we have the new PvP season as well. And here you're also, similar to kind of Mythic Plus, you're also not going to be able to get the real gear until next week, right? So depending on what you push, what item levels what ratings you push, you have 3 different item levels here. You have 246, 239, and 233, and then obviously below that's going to be like irrelevant item levels for this patch basically. And this is in PvE, sorry. This is in PvE. In PvP, these items are going to gain a +13 item level difference. So it's going to be really huge in PvP, obviously. But they basically made this change so you don't have to farm PvP to do PvE as much, right? Which is a really good change again. I really like this. This is amazing for both PvP and PvE. Because that also means that the PvP gear is actually going to be really good in PvP. Because it's so much higher item level in PvP, right? So, really good change, Blizzard. Keep it up. So you're going to be able to buy the Conquest gear from the vendor next week, right? So if you push 2400 and you buy the 246 weapon on Mythic Week, that's going to be worth it. If you can get 2400, it's so good, actually. Because 246, what's that? That's equivalent to getting a weapon drop on the last 2 bosses of Heroic Week 1, and that assumes you can even clear Heroic Week 1, right? So this is going to be incredibly useful if you can get 2400. Obviously 2400 Week 1 is going to be at the very top end, right? You're going to have to be very good, probably even get boosted to get that high, in my opinion, Week 1. Then you have 2100, which is attainable, I would say, Week 1. I'm not even good at PvP, and I pushed 2050 Week 1 last season. I couldn't quite reach 2100, sadly. But, so I feel like this is really attainable, and 239 is also, like, really good gear, right? Like, I don't know. I feel like 239 weapon on Mythic Week might be really good, depending on how lucky you get in the Heroic raid here, or maybe if you get something in the vault as well, it could be a little bit more relevant. But yeah, if you can get 2100 or 2400, I would say go for PvP. If you can't get those two, then this starts to feel a little worse, right? But you're probably not going to want to push 1800 actually. It's not that easy, and also during Week 1 you have so much to do. There's no way pushing 1800 is worth it actually. I'll take that back. Even maybe, like, considering how much time it's gonna get to these two as well, I feel like maybe, especially for the average player, or like not the average player obviously, but the average Mythic raider, I feel like it's probably not even worth going for these two. Oh, this is probably only for like the world first contenders and maybe the top 100 guilds and stuff like this. And then we have this is gonna be something you guys are interested in though. Tasavesh opens. This is the new mega dungeon. This is gonna be really nice. Normal only drops 2 to 6, but it's still gonna be really good to upgrade your alt gears and stuff like that. And if you do normal, you unlock hard mode quest, which drops 233, right? So this is already like really good gear to just do in a 5-man with your friends, you know, have some fun in there. And hard mode is gonna be pretty easy as well if you're already like 220, 225, 226 geared, right? As most of us are. Even if you just played like solo or heroic rated, you're probably like 220, 226 by now. Also, a really busted necklace from the hard mode quest line, so I would really advise all of you guys to do Tasavesh hard mode Week 1 if you can do it, because it's gonna give you this 233 necklace with a stat proc. It has a main stat proc. That's really good for most classes, for all classes basically. It does like punch above its weight, right? It's way better than 233 in terms of stats. It's probably like 236 to 37 or something in terms of stats. So get that. Then we have Torghast, new Torghast layers unlocking, possibly all of them, or just 2 more or 1 more. I have no idea what Blizzard is doing there, but yeah, you're gonna get some new Torghast layers that you need to unlock. Flying is also gonna get unlocked. by renown. This is actually renown 44 only. So this is the first renown you get in week 2 unlocks flying, which is really nice. Now you can still not fly in Korthi or the Maw, sadly, which is where most of us are gonna be, XD, because yeah, you're not gonna be in the old zones, but flying in the old zones still has its advantages. It's nice that you get it this early. I like that change. Then we have the Valor and Conquest cap. Since this carries over, like there's no real stress to capping Valor or Conquest week 1, I feel like. This is also like on the lower end of your priority. The biggest things you need to do week 1, or week 2, sorry, Heroic week, is Tazavesh opens. This is really good. You should definitely do this. You should obviously clear the raid if you can, and then you should probably spam Mythic Plus. Unless you're into PvP, I don't think pushing is going to be that great. Unless you're like obviously at the very top end, in which case it is going to be very good. Then we have week 3 where Mythic Sanctum opens, Razor World First begins, and this is also going to be the week where you can actually attain Keystone Master, or the equivalent of Keystone Master with the new scoring system, right? Because the new system works in a way where you have to do both Fortified Keys and Tyrannical Keys, and again, there's been a lot of like pushback from the community to this change. It's again like the community is generally pretty fucking stupid in WoW, honestly, I'm just gonna say. Then we have Sanctum Mythic, which is gonna be really high item level, obviously. 259 from last 2, no one's gonna clear them in the first week probably, or Limit's probably gonna clear one of them in the first week maybe. Razor World First, obviously super cool. This is also where you're gonna get your first vault, right? This is your real first juicy vault, the 252 vault, right? The one where you're gonna start pumping real hard on the gear. And this is also the week where Mythic Plus gear is going to be uncapped, right? So this is where you can start pushing the 15s and get some good gear from Mythic Plus, or at least some decent gear, like heroic level gear. And yeah, it's a tyrannical week though, so it might be a little rough pushing those 15s there, but it's probably doable, or it's definitely doable. It might be a little more rough than usual though. Then we have the new Covenant specific legendaries are also unlocking this week, and this is at renown 48. So this is gonna also be easily attainable in week 3 here. And this is also where you can actually craft your first Lego. You're not gonna be able to craft your first Lego until this mythic week here, no matter how Blizzard paces out the Torghast basically. Although how Blizzard paces out the Torghast still has massive implications, and I'm gonna go through that in a bit here before we close out the video. So this is also where Torghast layer 12 unlocks if it hasn't already. I think it is gonna unlock in the heroic week, but I'm not sure. So in terms of the cinders, this is something I do want to touch on real quick, because this is really important for you guys as well. You remember how I talked about these bi-weekly assaults and the Tormentors of Torghast, where you can get 150 cinders each week? Well, those guys are bi-weekly, right? So if you miss like 3 days or 4 days, if you're away basically at any point during this patch, you're gonna miss potentially 50 cinders there, which is not gonna be a big deal unless Blizzard does the ultimate fucking cuck move and they just lube us up and fuck us hard. So if they pace it the most like sparse possible way, right, the cinders are gonna look like this. You're gonna have 210 week 1, then you're gonna be at 600 week 2, and then assuming you clear all of this mythic content, all of the like the bi-weekly assaults, the tormentors, you've done literally everything every single week. So this is not even like at the day 1 of the mythic week, right? This is like the latter half of the mythic week where you have done your second bi-weekly assault of the week. That's when you have 1100 soul ash, which means that you can actually craft your first Lego. Your first Lego costs 1100. It's 249 item level. Well, if you have missed anything, you're gonna be completely fucked, and you're gonna have to wait another week, right? So I don't think that's likely, just because of that simple reason. I don't think Blizzard are gonna be that horrible to us. Hopefully, please, I beg of you, Blizzard, don't fuck me. And the second option is basically that they just do two layers week 1, 2 layers week 2, which is what I think they're gonna do. And in that case, you're gonna have 330, 840, and then 1350. So you're gonna be quite above the 1100 limit here in week 3, which means that it doesn't really matter if you missed some assaults, some torments, some maybe you didn't do Torghast for 1 week. It's still gonna or you probably need to do Torghast at least like one of the wings. But if you miss the Torghast wing, it might not be the end of the world, you know. So this would be a pretty nice schedule for me personally, since I'm also going away, you know. I'm gonna miss like 2 of these bi-weekly assaults probably, so please do this. And then there's the last, which is basically just that they unlock every single Torghast layer instantly, right, which could also happen. Then you're gonna be at, still not gonna be like any major difference there. You're still gonna be able to craft your first leg of week 3 basically. But you're gonna be at that 4th or that higher item level already next week, which is pretty big. So yeah, so that was pretty much everything for this 9.1 guide, guys. As you can see, it's not a lot to do in week 1 really. There's a ton of stuff to do in week 2, Heroic Week, which is where most of your playtime is gonna be basically, which is obviously as it always is. And yeah, I hope you learned something. Subscribe if you want more 9.1 content, and yeah, see you in the next video, guys. Have a good one.